Up first, this individual has forged a fascinating, formidable path by planting the seeds of Glitter Cloud Solutions, a consultancy crafted to catalyze and cultivate the very core of blockchain gaming. From sharpshooter to catalyst consultant, it's the king of the kill streak, the ultimate hype man, and the para whale. That didn't work. Over you, Dub. It's Dub.
Yes, spend stupid money, get stupid intros. Great to fucking be here. Love all you guys. love what I'm doing, dude. Like, honestly, like, I know I say, like, love your life, live your best fucking life. I'm just trying to do that. I feel like I am doing it. It's an honor to get to work with people like Paul, people like Kevin, and be friends and have to buy Koji's attention. But, you know, I freaking love it too. And Sinjin, I hope you woke up for this. I also love you equally as much. But fuck you, Knock.
Spend stupid money, get stupid intros is my new favorite phrase. Up next, he dares to delve into the depths of the taboo, forging narratives that blaze trails while others fear to tread. He's the mind behind Mindry, Yakuza Girlfriend, and Peking Duck Studios, a visionary who paints pixels with passion and ignites imaginations with incendiary ideas. He's a man of many talents, a titan of taste and taboo, and a true Renaissance rebel. Welcome to the panel. You know it's Big Sinjin.
Hey, now they're woken up a little bit. I have to say that while you cannot buy love, you can definitely buy attention. So good on you, Dove. I think you're going to make an MVP today.
Let's see if $53,000 is the price of an MVP vote. This next guy has more hustle than a honey badger in a hot dog factory, a whirlwind of wit and wisdom, a veritable veteran of video games with his passion for Super Smash Bros. And Balatro. He's a stud business developer at Avalanche, and he's built like an ox big enough to carry Web3 gaming on his back, which he just might have to do. He's the Sultan of Smash. It's Wills Spangler.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just going to be gasping and wheezing over here at the price tag of the Nintendo Switch 2. So,
God damn it! Dude,
I love it because Sam thought that this GameFi was going to be about any other topic other than Nintendo again, and of course he was wrong again.
We have to talk about this. I'm dying over here, guys.
God,
what's wrong with you guys?
Yes, dude. You guys are losers.
The only issue
you are going to buy the shit out of it. You're going to buy 5 of them.
It doesn't make me any less angry about it. If anything, it makes me more angry about it.
I thought for sure it'd be about the $80 games that Nintendo is pushing us all to.
Which... don't even get me started. Don't.
Hey, guys, it would be cool if you could leave a little bit of topics for us to do the show with.
No. Sorry. Somebody said Nintendo. That's it. It's over.
Here's the real question, though, is do those old Nintendo games that they've been holding at like $55 forever go up to $75 now?
Oh, definitely.
We'll save that.
Definitely, yeah.
Up next, he's a master of metrics and a wizard of web traffic, a connoisseur of both conversations and conversions. Working at Uptick, he's the architect of audience engagement, the sculptor of social strategies, and the conductor of compelling campaigns. You've witnessed his rise from golden fraud to the golden god right here on Gamified, and it's Jerry, the golden god singer.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm real pissed off at the games industry today because of people like Wills, but I'm happy to be here with a bunch of my other friends and my best friend, Kevin.
Okay, one thing I've noticed, Tony V, still not here. And I confirmed with him this morning. He goes, Sam, I got a wide open calendar. I'll be there from the start to the finish.
You need to blame Wild Kate. She's got him in a meeting right now, I think. So that's
I'm on it. He missed dinner.
Good luck, but I think he likes Kate better than you, but good luck.
When he shows up, I need everybody to unmute and boo him at the same time. That's all I ask. Up next, with a flick of the wrist and a flash of ink, he turned his back on the boardroom when he tattooed his hand to burn the boats on the corporate life. He's the constant collector, not only of memorabilia, but of projects, a co-founder of Sanctuary, Wayfinder, Colony, and of course, Parallel TCG, the Web3 game that was previously crowned Web3 Game of the Year. It's the Parallel Pack Rat, the manager of the Mosh Pit, and the giver of GPUs. As the beloved unofficial office supplier of Gamified, it's Koji Nagata.
Hey, what's up, guys? I love Dub's whale arc, and for the record, I loved Dub before he had money. He was the first person we put on the list for the mobile test, although he didn't test it for some reason. And then he was one of the first people that we put on the list for Colony. So, Dub's the man. Also, I forgot what I was going to say here, but thanks for having me yet again, Sam. And fucking Switch 2, most bullshit thing I've ever. Fucking open world Mario Kart, a game that is based on racing on very specific tracks that are laid out to be just so. It's like, why don't we just open that up so that there's no track? Okay, great idea. Great game. Can't wait.
This guy with his fucking Toyota Corolla, fucking. What are you doing, man? Why are you hating great things?
Just as a reminder to our mods, there is a kick button for people that are on stage, just so you should know that that's a power you have.
This is a crazy opening. Crazy opening. I've never seen.
Also, we just got to see live what 50 grand buys you, and so there you go.
Hey,
bitch about the Switch 2 price.
Up next, he's worked on games that have brought the worlds of Game of Thrones, Star Trek, and The Walking Dead to interactive life, but he's not just a master of adaptation. He's a problem solver, a platform pioneer, a champion of creative freedom. For the past 5 years, he's dedicated his expertise to Beamable, a revolutionary infrastructure platform designed to unshackle game designers from the tedious technicalities and let them return to their true passion, crafting captivating experiences like open world Mario Kart. He's a facilitator of fun and champion of creative control. It's from Beamable. It's John Radoff. And no, he didn't make open world Mario Kart.
But disavow all knowledge of that one. Yeah, Nintendo, we're not doing that. Sam, thanks for introducing me here. There's an amazing metric I'm tracking. Gamified over gamified growth to number of Beamable platform customers in the speakers area. So I'm seeing Paul from
I was just going to say, it. We love Beamable.
And I see Kevin from Project O, two of our beloved customers there. Glad to see you guys here. This is going to be awesome.
Hey, buddy.
We're going to take over here. We're going to
I know you're waiting on a Slack message from me. I cannot get up at 8 a.m. That's not happening. We need to find a different time.
We'll move it to later. No, I already proposed later. We're gonna do that.
Okay, sorry. I just saw that and I was like, oh gosh, how do I break the news to him that I'm never awake at 8 a.m?
This is like the third week in a row that people are answering their DMs on the gamified stage instead of just
That's the way to do it.
DMs. It's wild, dude. Up next, for 27 years, this coding colossus has been crafting captivating worlds from the hells of Dungeon Siege to the sanctuaries of Solitaire. A game so popular was inducted into the Video Game Hall of Fame in 2019. He's a parallel pioneer in the top 30 of the ladder and a visionary who bridges the gap between classic craftsmanship and contemporary competition with Project O, which revealed with its invitational tournament at the Wolves Den, one of the coolest moments of my life. From Coin Games and Project O, we got Kevin Lambert.
Hey, thanks. And can you hand me that gasoline? Because I'm about to put it on the fire. Dude, the Switch 2, what is up with not announcing a Mario game?
Yeah,
I'm in shambles over here with no...
That is a fair critique.
That is fair.
Whose COD is it?
Wait, great critique, Kevin.
Wait. So
Mario Kart. It's in the.
I was gonna say. So we're going with Mario Kart. Literally, is not a Mario game now.
Stripping him of his.
No, it's not a Mario. It is.
I know.
It's not a Mario 3D game. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, Kevin. We need to actually 27 years. We actually need to compare exactly the date that you started and I started, because mine is right on the cusp of 27 to 28 years, and so
it's
I'm
30.
Really
it's 30 for me this year, actually.
Well, okay, so then I have to know if I can go back to when I was making games before I actually got hired. I don't know if you're back to anyway. We'll do a little math later.
I'll be the judge, and I'm gonna say no. Bow down.
Damn it.
Respect.
All right, fine.
I also learned we have something more in common today. You said you never get up before 8. That is something I share. Kindred spirits there, Paul.
Fuck yeah. The mornings.
Hell yeah, boys. Love that for you. Well,
we're night owls here.
So I need everybody to go Tony. Boo. Boo, Tony. Boo.
Tony, we decided you like Katie. Yeah, we decided you like Katie better than Dub and better than us, and that's fair.
Hey, Tony, we love you.
Love you guys.
Up next, this man has penned some of the most popular pages in the player's playbook, but now this patriarch of programming and is pioneering a path into potential packed provinces of Web3 with Wildcard, the real-time strategy arena brawler that's just launched a 100% community-owned token. Get ready to rally, because after the show, Wildcard will be showcasing yet another one of their, what are you calling them, Paul? What are these things called? The
exhibitions. Yeah, exhibitions. We're moving on. We're on EX4. We've done 3 of them so far. They've been incredible. Way beyond our expectations. EX4 is, I think the announcement is going out right now or soon, so pay attention. And this will be, I'm going to leak it right now. The first week, we're actually doing 2 exhibitions in 1 week. So it's EX4 and EX5 being announced at the same time.
Damn right. Don't knock the marketing, Sam. It's real good. It's exhibition series.
That's
Let's
right.
go. The exhibition series.
And by the way, thank you for the intro. I promise you, I didn't just show up today because I knew that it was going to be right after the Switch got announced. But, here I am anyway, and I'm so glad to be here.
We take those happy little accidents. I didn't get to finish the Prometheus. There was a whole bunch of P's at the end there. I got distracted halfway through. Anyway, moving on. He's the guy who turns complex chaos into clean, clear solutions. He's the rock star of reeling in the unruly from esports pros to crypto bros. And he's the Michael Jordan of clicking digital trees, becoming RuneScape royalty. And weighing in at 54 pixels, it's my co-host, Knock.
What? Yo, I got upgraded to co-host. The Switch announces a $600 refresh to the fucking console. It's thunderstorming in a blizzard in Toronto, and still the craziest thing that happened today was Dub giving me a preemptive fuck you. What was that about?
Dub?
You know about Knock, change the Discord PFP, bro.
Sorry, the mute button is being weird, man. I'm tapping it like 4 times and it's kind of doing its own thing. So if you hear me not talk for 3 seconds, that's because Twitter. So just yell at me and I'll try to figure that out. Get ready to howl with excitement and welcome an alpha, bringing in the Blizzard of benefits with a flurry of fantastic games. It's Avalanche, the leader of the blockchain Blizzard, the one and only official chain of gamified. Wolf and the Wolves DAO en route to the chain known for its frosty and formidable L1s to dive into the firefights off the grid, conquer the competition in Shadowline, and enjoy the nostalgic world of Maple stories. So why aren't you? And gamers, get ready to go gaga for Game 7. The gaming giant is giving growth a gigantic boost every time I stumble on that part, and I do it to myself. They're not building bridges, they're blasting through barriers with brilliant blockchain breakthroughs. With some in their conjuring secret sauce to keep players glued to your game, and with Hyperplay, they're hyping up the portal to instant Web3 access with no friction, just fun. Thanks to them for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And get ready to blast off with Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified, and its sensational preseason spectacular. Right now, you can plunge into a galaxy of captivating content, explore exotic exoplanets, engage in exhilarating expeditions, and experience the evolution of gaming graphics that redefine the cosmos. Get a game key to the preseason by joining the Star Atlas Discord today. And yeah, guys, between wrapping up the Wolves Den, doing my taxes, ramping up at Farcade, and having Lems out as a co-host, I'm in shambles today. This is a nightmare. but I'm here with all my best friends. We got a bunch of amazing topics. I'm sure it's still going to be a great episode. Jumping in first with bullish or bullshit, Chinese conglomerate Tencent is investing in Ubisoft's most famous IPs directly. These IPs were transferred, apparently, to a new company from Ubisoft to a subsidiary that has worldwide exclusive, irrevocable, perpetual license, and Tencent has bought into that subsidiary for $1.25 billion. Monetizing IP in many, many ways has been the name of the game for the last 5 years or so between for way more than 5 years, but especially in gaming and seeing the rise of, books and TV series and movies and all that stuff. But some people fear that Ubisoft is phoenixing, which is essentially moving all the valuable IP away from the company, leaving behind liabilities and debt and that kind of stuff, and then filing for bankruptcy. And ironically, the new subsidiary with these IP is already at a higher valuation than Ubisoft itself. So is this bullish or bullshit for the Web2 giant Ubisoft and some of the world's favorite game IPs? Wild Paul with the hand up first. Over to you.
This is bullish for all the things we love, which is the IPs and the games that we have been playing for decades, things like Assassin's Creed that, they had their ups and downs, but it's just a beloved franchise, no doubt, and played by millions of players. So it's bullish for that but probably bullshit for Ubisoft, but I don't know that, how much do we care about some random corporate, whatever? I care about the creators. I care about the IP. I think that this is the future that we're moving to. When I saw this news, I was like, yeah, this is confirmation of, I think, what everybody knows and believes, but especially when we look into the future, which is that the IP that has already taken hold, that has been able to capture the hearts and minds of millions of players, is basically the only forever value that you can count on heading into this uncertain future of AIs doing everything and the singularity and everything else. I think nothing's going to change how much we all love Mickey Mouse, how much we all love Mario, how much we all love, Assassin's Creed, for those who do. And I think this is a recognition of that. And it's I think it's a healthy thing. I think it's a restructuring of value around that core value and not this necessarily like monolithic corporate value of a publisher. So, again, down bad for Ubisoft's investors, I suppose. but up good for us that love the games and IP that may have otherwise suffered or been harmed by whatever's happening at Ubisoft, and that now may be able to go on and continue to have life beyond that.
Interesting take. Also, want to give a shout out to a bunch of people in the comments. Luke Franks, Shelby, Obi-Wan Benobi, Jorge Trite, so many others are giving us the woof. You'll love to see it. Thanks, guys, for all this.
Oh, one last thing, by the way, I just wanted to add. It's not that we don't also love those brands. I don't know if Ubisoft has been able to get there, but like if you look at a brand that hasn't really done a ton, well, actually, it's not fair. I was going to say Sega, right? Sega is this thing that because it was so successful for a while that we love it actually even independently of the games that Sega created. We can hear that word Sega in our brain played by the Genesis. Like I'm sure anyone on this panel could make that sound if I wanted you to. And so I don't know if Ubisoft has gotten to that level though. Maybe they have, and if so, then they could also be a Phoenix. But I kind of like the separation there between the IP and the corporation.
All right, let's go over to Will Spangler, see what he thinks.
Yeah, I'm gonna say bullish. I agree with most of what Paul said. I think that I know we've talked about it a million times on this panel, but the book Press Resets highlights exactly how these massive corporations having control over these studios and these IPs can inevitably be detrimental to their future. And I think we're all building in Web3. We're all focused on this idea of games being able to operate independently and have a say over their direction and include the audience more in that. What we're seeing is a tonal shift away from this idea of the giant corporations producing these games. Obviously, Tencent's got their fingers in there, but they've got their fingers in everywhere. And the idea that they're investing into these kind of individual IPs shows that kind of sentiment that we've been seeing of the movement away from these giant corporations to smaller studios, smaller teams, building more direct and focused projects that aren't trying to meet these massive corporate quotas and are trying to serve their consumers more directly are going to be more successful. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more movements like this in the future because people want their favorite games to survive. And it's good to see a new way of making that happen.
It is indeed. Got to follow the money, and the money is in IP. Let's go to Koji, then we'll tag in Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, I am also with this panel. I can't wait to see my favorite IPs turned into mobile slop. It's going to be so fucking exciting to see. I don't even know what the name of the guy from Assassin's Creed is, in an Endless Runner.
Enzo.
Fucking incredible. Yeah, well, I don't know. That's not one of my favorite IPs. I actually think it sucks. But yeah, I'm. It's kind of nothing to me. People want to make money, and this is an easy way just to recycle more slop. This is like Switch 2 all over again. If you guys just want to play the same shit over and over in different forms, here you go. I don't know. It's not exciting to me. I think it's. I think there's a thumbs down, to be honest with you. But whatever. That's not like these games that they were making were good before. They haven't been good for a while. So whatever. Let's give somebody else a crack.
Right off the back of Shadows, breaking records, Assassin's Creed Shadows, that is. Jerry, over to you.
Yeah, Sam, I can already tell you how this episode's going to go. It's going to be Koji saying a bunch of things to incite rage in Paul and I. He's going to find a way to shit on the Nintendo every topic, and it's going to very, very much make us mad. But no, this is a good thing, man. And I think people who don't think it's a good thing are kind of crazy. Tencent is has their hands in everything, in a ton of games that we all love. Major investments in Riot, Blizzard, Epic, right? Supercell, games that we all play and know and get involved with every day. Tencent is one of the top 20 most profitable companies in the world, right? And how have they gotten there? By making games that people want to come back to. And I think Ubisoft has done this really unique thing, which is fail forward in the most epic way, which is create IPs that we all know and people buy, but people all still hate, like Assassin's Creed, right? Everybody's played an Assassin's Creed. Everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to play it. They release the same game every year. But what do millions of people do? They go back and buy it, right? And I don't think Ubisoft I think they've lost what made them Ubisoft. I mean, they clearly have, right? I don't think it. We all know it. And another company taking some of these like not forever games, but these forever IPs like Rainbow Six, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and trying to breathe life into them or breathe innovation into them, I think is always going to be a good thing for the games industry. I think we all know what the writing on the wall is for Ubisoft, and we have for a long time. And somebody else coming in and taking control of that is a good thing, because I think we're all tired of seeing Ubisoft fuck it up.
It is a bit painful, but I won't get into the details there. Knock over to you, my co-host.
Yeah, only my very good friends on this panel can say both of these statements and mean them. Yeah, the game will get out of the hands of the corporate overlords, followed by Tencent has their hands in everything. They are literally now part of the biggest corporate overlord in gaming, so I don't understand that argument at all. I think that this is part of consolidation. To me, this feels like
maybe we need better corporate overlords. I don't know.
Better is fair. But I think that this is part of the larger theme that we're going to be seeing. We're seeing it now in Web3 gaming. You're going to see it pretty significantly in traditional gaming as well. This is going to be a year of consolidation. Funding is difficult to find. If you have a viable IP, you're trying to sell it. And it feels like this is a scenario where the sum of Ubisoft's parts are actually greater than the whole of Ubisoft as it is today. And it feels like they've found a way to make a lot more value or create a lot more value out of the IP that they have, rather than trying to bundle everything up into Ubisoft, which is already, a public company. So for me, this makes a ton of sense. I think you're going to see more of this happen. Tencent is probably going to buy a fuck ton more things. We've already heard that the CCP in China is spinning up a similar fund to what the Saudis have done with building and buying a bunch of games. The Saudis made a purchase of, I can't even remember who the team was a few years ago, the team that built Monopoly Go. But this is going to happen a lot more. There's a lot of teams here that are running out of money. There's a lot of teams that are in a bad financial position. You're going to see more consolidation. This is just that. It's Tencent scooping up an asset or being selective with the assets that they're choosing to scoop up and participate in, rather than buying out Ubisoft entirely. You're probably going to see more teams do this if this is successful.
Yeah, it's a great point. Whenever you look at where their studio is headquartered in France, and then they have a bunch of other ancillary studios around the world in very expensive locations, plus they have debt on the balance sheet, I can imagine they don't want to buy Ubisoft outright. This is a very creative way for them to monetize their IPs and essentially get a massive cash injection without having to sell what is the studio itself. Kevin Lambert, bullish or bullshit on what Ubisoft is doing here?
I think from the perspective of investors and their share price, it's probably a bullish signal, like a nice clear strategy to unlock value from evergreen brands like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. And it's interesting, and the big cash injection certainly helps. Like IP being leveraged across platforms for long-term monetization is usually a good thing if the IP is solid. I think the take is more nuanced from the gamer perspective, because it could mean we're going to get more consistent, high quality content from these brands, but it could also lead to like live service bloat or creative dilution if the financial goals are superior to the user experience. Then we might be staring down Assassin's Creed pinball and like titles that nobody asked for and nobody really cares for, and I hope that's not the way it goes. But I'll take the over on that one from the gamer perspective as well, that it is bullish, and the creative teams behind those are going to still be pushing for excellent experiences, and overall it's just bullish and bullish.
Interesting.
Except I do want Assassin's Creed pinball.
Dude, after seeing the Disneyfication of Star Wars, my heart just can't take it anymore, dude. I don't want to. I think there should just be a cap. You're only allowed to put IP on like 2 things per year or something, because it's just crazy sometimes. I saw Star Wars branded clementines at the fucking grocery store the other day. I was like,
how did you?
I'm with you. Star Wars way over that limit.
Sorry, Kevin.
Wait, well, I just want to say one more thing. Tencent's involvement's interesting too, because they have a significant list of titles and IPs, and I wonder if there's anything in Tencent's war chest that could be tapped into as a result of this that would be particularly cool.
I'd be really curious to get a vibe check, maybe not for this show, but just like, how do we feel about Tencent taking over stuff? Like different companies have different track records. Microsoft used to suck, but I think they redeemed themselves with what they did with Minecraft. I gotta say, somewhat happy with the remastering of Age of Empires, but not super happy with, obviously, the Age of Empires mobile and stuff they've done there. So that's a mixed record. Tencent, I guess it all depends on what you feel about Fortnite, maybe. I don't know. But I think generally across the brands that they are heavily involved with, as Knock was saying, it's basically all of them, they've been a pretty good steward.
For me personally, they broke my heart with Diablo Immortal. That to me was garbage that I couldn't get through, even though I love the franchise and I've always wanted one on mobile. So that broke my heart to the point that I'm bearish on them in general. But you got to go with the track record and the money and say they're doing a good job.
That's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, but I think it was my understanding was it was a
Tencent.
reskin.
Yeah, Tencent's an overlord there.
Yeah, and then they have an insane amount invested. It was a whole
interesting.
Yeah, the past is all tied together there. Knock had the hand up, and then Dub raised it on Paul's statement. But we have a massive show to get to, so I'll let you guys go, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, one thing that is like very unlikely to happen, in my opinion, is that any of these games get better. This is like when IP becomes licensed out, it almost everything gets worse. For every Marvel Rivals, there's like 450 endless runner, shitty fucking match 3 games that use Marvel IP. This isn't a situation where things are going to get better. This is entirely dependent on whoever is running that new studio, whoever is controlling the IP for individual games. You're going to have some hits out of this and you're going to have some absolute garbage. But when IP gets licensed out like this, you get Star Wars tangerines, right? Nobody wants that.
Oh, sure. Throw up the 100s when Knock says it. I see how it is, you motherfuckers.
All right, Dub, last word.
Yeah, just to Paul's question, like, because I came before all this from a mega conglomerate that ran like over 60% of the global sporting goods industry. And like, it wasn't that bad. Like, mega conglomerates can be good. At the end of the day, it is still people, and they do categorize and get more bandwidth and have the processes in place to like support and do that. I think there's going to be growing pains in Tencent's history as they've seen, but as they go through that and get better, they'll ultimately get better people and better like organization as a giant mega conglomerate, hopefully. And like, I'm looking forward to more Star Wars tangerines. You can all fuck off. I am all for it. Fuck you.
Dude,
this guy like Snow White.
That makes the insane, I guess, assumption that they will only get better. And we have seen countless companies get bigger and horribly worse as they get bigger. I mean, Ubisoft, literally the company that we're talking about as we kick this topic off, is a company that's consistently kind of gotten worse as they've gotten bigger and have more money and more famous IPs. Anyway, we move on. Paul had an amazing question for us a few weeks ago. It's been a while since we've been able to all get back together on this show. So his question for the panel, and I hope you guys did your homework because I sent it to all of you guys. Pick your favorite Web 2 game, or it could be any Web 2 game, but describe how you would integrate a Web 3 token with utility into it. He wants to know from his fellow panelists, if you had to include a live token in an existing Web 2 game, World of Warcraft, Zelda, Mario Kart, whatever you want to take, and provide syncs to make that token stable and viable, how would you do it? So panelists, what would you pick, and how would you add syncs to make it not terrible? I think Tony had the hand up first.
Okay, I would take, and the answer is anything that is as popular as Marvel Rivals or Fortnite when it was at its peak, but like things that are making a shitload of money selling live services content to people. And the way that I would integrate the token is I've long held that there are 2 classes of people that need to be addressed in this conversation. The class of people that are intrinsically motivated to buy the content in your game. I'm proud to say this and ashamed, I own every skin in Marvel Rivals right now. Every single skin. I've got a pack that gave me a chip that lets me unlock a skin in the store because it's a new feature they built, and I can't even use it. My notification won't go away because I own every fucking skin already. And so I am that user. I spent $1,000, $1,500, whatever, in Marvel Rivals. If I had a mechanism to then take the skins that I wasn't using, even though I already bought all of them because I'm a fucking psychopath, and somehow like turn them into value for more skins that I wanted, in such a way that interacted with the Web3 economy or the token, I would do that all day, right? So if I could quote unquote sell my skin back to Marvel Rivals for Marvel Rivals credit to buy more skins, and a Web3 person could somehow get the benefit of that transaction, as if I was selling it back to that user, I believe that is a system that would work well, because there is a class of users who just don't care about the speculative part. They just want to collect all the things. And then there's a class of users who just want to be able to speculate. So if I was if like for some reason the orange Venom skin that I just bought 5 years from now, there were only like 10,000 of them, and Marvel Rivals was like, hey, click this button for this skin that you never use, and we'll turn it into 10 years of a battle pass. And then they sold that skin to a Web3 person for $100,000 and kept the financial benefit of that transaction. I, as a user, would be super psyched with my year worth of battle pass, and I would do that transaction all day, every day. And I think there's a ton of users that would do that. And so I think like creating that sort of virtuous cycle between finding ways to give back the value to the users who are spending money in a way that they appreciate and respect, while also benefiting the Web3 people who just want to make money, is going to be a winning solution.
Very interesting way to kick it off. I like that idea of you have a skin that's super valuable. The computer knows that you're not using it, and you just click a button to basically exchange it or something, but it's blockchain on the back end. Interesting take, Tony. All right, Sinjin had the hand up next. Sinjin, you need to put tokens with utility into a Web2 game that already exists. Which one are you picking and why?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm cheating here, but I would say online poker. And, you know, obviously it's something that I know very well. And I think the first thing is, like, when you approach this question, which is a pretty heavy question, you really need to know what the pain points are where the token could solve. So, like, if the difficulty of a token is really the floating value and supply control issues, then one thing is it needs to be scalable. So to Tony's point, I think that's a cool approach. But if you're just talking about like skins or optional syncs that's not really integrated with the actual gameplay, you never manage the token supply in a meaningful way because it doesn't scale, right? It's kind of something that's there based on like buyer sentiment rather than actual gameplay where the revenue is being generated. So as poker's revenue is generated through transactions per bet, in poker, we call this raking cash games, right? So this ultimately drains the total player balances overall because you'll, like, for an online poker site, you'll have anywhere between 2.5% and 5% cap to rake, and it's taken out of every transaction between the players. And ultimately, you know, the entire player's holdings, the balances of what they actually bet with decreases. And so poker sites, they compete on loyalty programs that provide like fundamentally a form of rake back. So a percentage of revenue back to the website is given back to the user, which is really important because some poker players, they could actually be profitable poker players if there was not rake or a less amount of rake. And so they could be break even. So by holding the token, if you had a floating token, right, and then by holding it, you would increase the amount of rake back you're eligible for. So it incentivizes players to align with the token's value because they would get greater rake back while also helping maintain the value of the token, which they received back in revenue. So I think it's about like player alignment, but also like scalability that would scale, you know, obviously as the revenue goes up, that's integrated with the actual gameplay.
Okay, so I just have one follow-up question. I just have to ask Sinjin because I think that's so brilliant. In fact, I think it's so brilliant that I'm really struggling to understand why hasn't that product taken hold and taken off and become the like single obvious case for crypto gaming in the last several years?
I think the issue is that people don't fundamentally understand the need for scaling, right? And they don't, and the problem is like to integrate something directly into gameplay. First and foremost is that gameplay has to monetize. And a lot of games don't have the monetization baked into the gameplay, right? Monetization is like a secondary point. So in online gambling or online poker, we don't have a word for monetization in the entire fucking industry. That's from you guys. From our side, you know, we just fucking make money when you play, right? So that's first and foremost. It's like almost like you're already in a position to succeed. The second issue is that I mentioned it before on the scaling side of it is that like when people doing the design of the games for Web3, what they're looking for is other optionality and providing those options for burning. So like when GameFi at that era first came out and Axie was such a fucking winner, everyone just said, okay, we're just going to give more options to players to, you know, burn tokens, right? So on the surface, that looks right? But unless you were to put another kind of gameplay feature that made that option something that people had to kind of take in, right? It's actually not scalable, right? So like that other aspect of it does it. So there would be only a few types of games where the monetization is actually part of the gameplay, where it would be a very simple integration. Otherwise, for everybody else, you would have to then make a reason why that particular burn is tied to gameplay or is unavoidable in order to make it scalable. And once it's not scalable or not unavoidable, supply will go out of fucking control.
Interesting stuff. Thanks, Sinjin, and great to get it from somebody who I'm sure has done a lot of thought experimenting on that. Koji, I think, had the hand up. Then I think Kevin and John.
Well, I think Sinjin wins this one because that was fucking genius. But my answer was going to be the obvious one, Counter-Strike, so we can have a win-win. People can stop holding it up as a fucking example of what they want Web3 to be, and it can just be Web3, and that would be sweet. And then the Web2 users actually get money launderers in Web3, so I think it works great on both accounts. Also, just like that subset of users is sort of used to online, sort of shady online transactions and whatnot. And so you can just kind of bubble it up to the forefront, and it would make life a lot easier for everybody. But yeah, I mean, that's low hanging fruit, but it's the obvious one.
What would be the actual utility of the token in Counter-Strike, do you think?
Oh, just like allow you to sort of more freely trade item for item, I would assume. Like if there's sort of discrepancy between the skins or what have you. I don't know about play to earn or anything like that, but like just from the economy side of things, because I don't want your like fake Steam dollars anymore. Just give me something that's like slightly more liquid, maybe.
Yeah, sort of makes sense. All right, not as creative, but we'll take it. Kevin Lambert, over to you.
All right, I'll take you on a little journey of my answer to this question. It was awesome, by the way, Paul. Like, I started out with Stardew Valley, thinking, because I love the cozy game, Web3, digital property ownership experience there. And so I was thinking like maybe like a land token that represents like in-game land rights, premium upgrades, like you could stake land to unlock rare crops and things, and you could burn land this token like for expanding your farm beyond a certain size or like customizing with rare upgrades. But then I was like, like this really presses against one of my main problems with Web3 token integration is that we're blending the motivations of the personas. And there's probably a way to split that, but I figured going for a cleaner split would be better. So that my second answer, which I think is probably better, is a game like Hades. Having like, you've got your core loop where you fight through the underworld, you're improving your skills, unlocking the stories and enjoying the replayable action. No tokens, pure fun for Billies and Chads. And then you've got your, an adjacent loop, and it would be something like the Pantheon Trials, and it's an opt-in challenge mode, and it would use a token, call it something cool like Hellfire or Ember or something. And there would be an entry fee you would spend this token to enter the weekly trials with custom, like really high difficulty runs and modifiers. And you could wager, to increase the difficulty and risk reward. There'd be leaderboard payouts. And then, there would be like access to, mint cosmetic only blessings that would, change the look of the in-game effects and things for live streaming. And then the sinks would you would burn the token for entry. You would have it for forging. You could wager. You could have prestige unlocks and access to like special trials. You could even get like a UGC in there where like people are putting together just like freaking ridiculous trials and people try to beat them, and everybody's wagering tokens around there. And it's nice because as a lover of the game, you can play the game without having an experience that's encumbered at all with the motivation to earn. And if you get really into it, you could go to this, adjacent experience, which is very relevant to the main game, but it lives right alongside of it and, token and speculate away. And then you could also be the kind of player that would do both of these experiences and blend them together, but one does not harm the other.
Wild Paul breaking his thumb, spamming emojis. Any follow-ups on that one, Paul?
Well, I was going to maybe go at the end and just so that I can hear everybody else's ideas, but basically everything that was just said is the stuff that I'm fascinated and I love to, and I think is the answer personally.
That's awesome. We'll circle back to you and go to John Radoff.
So we actually did this at Disruptor Beam, believe it or not. I mean, back in the dark ages, before these were just called blockchain games instead of Web3 games, we had Star Trek Timelines, which is the game that's still running to get today. We minted 1 million wallets on chain with Star Trek Timelines, one of the secrets of blockchain gaming, I think, at this point, because it was on Forte, which, as we know, kind of has imploded. But here's the thing with trying to put a token economy into a Web2 game. It's really, really difficult to introduce a token in any way that interfaces with the economy that was present within the original game in a way that isn't just super disruptive to that economy, because usually the economy has already been figured out and a lot of things organized around things like pinch points and having total control of the drip of currencies to those players and having some currencies be driven directly from gameplay. So it's really, really hard to have any porous interface between those two. So what we had to do is essentially create entirely new game mechanics. So one of the things that's a function of most Web 2 or free to play games generally is they're always adding new currencies. Go into any mobile game that's reached scale and has a lot of players in it, you'll notice that they're always adding new game mechanics, and frequently there's new currencies around that. And they do that for a reason, which is almost the same, which is if you start just building everything off of the same core currency system, it just gets harder and harder to manage things like inflation of that currency or how it gets used over time. So the more you can create essentially siloed gameplay, and that could mean new tournament systems, new kind of event mechanic, new kinds of exploration mechanic, just anything that can happen within the world, but is based on doing a new activity and then tie the currency to that. That's when you're better off. In the case of Star Trek Timelines, we came up with this system around collecting artifacts where you'd have a slow currency drip for participating in this. And over time, you'd accumulate artifacts, and we had kind of a little staking mechanic where you could stake the currency to earn more of these artifacts, and you'd get a combination of both currency from playing as well as participating in the artifact mechanic and just sort of continuously iterating playing that system. I think that is a good approach where a lot of Web 2 games could actually dip their toe in. What I definitely advise every Web 2 game, that at least one that is already being played by a lot of people and is already popular, be really super careful about too much interaction between that token and what you're already doing in the game, because you potentially could blow everything up. So start small. I think, if your game's already out, just build a system that's simple. It can be isolated. It doesn't interact with the rest of things, and it's just fun to do. And then later, if it makes sense, you could build those interfaces, but get knowledge of what you're really getting into, make it a simple game system, or maybe think about social systems. Like, is there something new that your guild can do or your squads can do that they earn a special group currency, and then do something around that? So those are a couple ideas for folks.
No questions, no notes. Agreed with everything.
Thanks, Paul. Paul, the official co-host of Gamified, actually.
Not really, just but thank you so much for this.
No, it's great, man. I love to hear these ideas, and thanks everybody for coming prepared. Send it over to my real co-host, Knock.
Yeah, I'm the RuneScape guy, and I've also been very vocal about how I don't want anything Web3 to touch RuneScape. But I do think I have a potential way to fit this in. So weird quirk with RuneScape, it works on a 32-bit integer storing system, which basically just means it's a really old way of storing numbers and using numbers. So the maximum cash stack that you can have in the game is 2.147 mil. After you hit that number, you can no longer hold any cash. RuneScape introduced a token called Platinum Tokens about a decade ago. The idea there is it transfers 100,000 gold in-game to one Platinum token. There is an incredibly large real-world money issue within RuneScape. I think any MMO can really do this, but I think RuneScape has a couple of things that make it pretty unique. I think making the Platinum token an ERC20 token that just has a flat 10% burn rate does a couple of things. One, it allows Jagex to actually monetize on some of this real world money trading that's been happening for the last 25 years. And two, it gives people who want to participate in these high stake pieces of the game an avenue to do so that is relatively safe versus just sending money to some guy over PayPal, which I've done more than a few times. There's a game mode called Last Man Standing, which basically just puts 20 people into a game. You scavenge the arena for items. You basically fight until only one person is left. There's Amir's Arena, which has been the topic of hot debate in RuneScape over the course of the last 20 years, which is effectively just no armor, no gear. You and one other guy who both have maxed combat go in and you just kick each other until somebody dies. The winner of that walks away with a bunch of currency. I think that those are two like natural high stakes. People are already wagering on these things, way to implement platinum tokens. But the other piece is the problem with a game like Old School is to get to raid level. Even with like the best money-making experiences within the game, you're probably looking at like somewhere between 750 and 1,200 hours of like the most optimal money-making methods to get to a level where you can purchase equipment that allows you to do the high-end stuff in the game. Most people, if you're playing the game, just outright have to buy this token. There's all kinds of sites where you can do this. I think allowing platinum tokens to just be an ERC20 token that Jagex gets a piece of, a portion of it gets deleted anytime that it's transferred between two players, feels like a really interesting way to get a little piece of the action on something that has been happening for 25 years anyway that you haven't been able to curb. Allow people who want to participate in these activities to do so in a way that is instantly settled and a lot safer than sending strangers on the internet money over PayPal. And two, actually introduces some form of sync and control via platinum tokens, which will be infinitely more effective than any of the gold syncs that exist in game, because instead of 1 or 2% on a transaction of gold, you're talking at an absolute flat rate of 100,000 gold per platinum token. If they're going to do it, I think it needs to be in a way that is semi-isolated. To me, that is the way that makes the most sense.
Really interesting one. Glad that you took it to Jagex, where your your heart lies and so much of your knowledge. That would be insane. That would be really insane. Let's go over to Dub, and then I see Spang with the hand up.
Yeah, first of all, I was not given like the week warning, so this is like all off the rip without leading, and Nock just stole my answer completely. So now I'm fumbling for a second one. It's RuneScape Gold.
I do it all the time. If I don't have an answer, I go, that last one was mine. Now I got to come up with another one. It's classic. It's brilliant. I love it.
The reality is that eFrontier is actually the ones already doing this and doing this the best. I got to talk to the tokenomics lead at GDC for a while, and like they're just letting their players do it, and create these tokens inside their ecosystem, and they're going to be fully supporting it. Like we're literally going to see guilds inside of EVE Online having their own coin market cap listings and dexes and all that shit. Like they're going to be supported fully as tokens. It's going to be really wild. And them having, I assume, their own token alongside all of that to kind of be the governing base amongst everyone, and to have true DAO governance around a token, taking care of the ecosystem and letting the community like dictate that is just fascinating. And I'm looking forward to the next year, just watching them like actually execute exactly on this topic and kind of put on a masterclass as we all get to sit and watch.
That's awesome. I didn't know that was the approach that they were taking. So it's basically going to be like if you run a guild or something, that guild can have a token that represents their own internal economy between those players.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like their UGC is actually the ability to code items in the game itself. So you can actually code the marketplace to support your token specifically. So you'll see guilds actually taking over entire galaxies in eFrontier and forcing everyone to spend dub bucks, for example. The really fun thing outside of all this is there's a known player that has been harassing people since the beginning of the beta, and someone made it the cost to get through this specific gate, which is a key gate in the game and everything, is that person's dead body. So essentially they coded a bounty on the most toxic player in the game, and the community is self-governing themselves. And we're going to see crazy shit like that around large token models as well, naturally, organically emerge over this game's growth.
I think we called this. I remember talking about it over a year ago and saying, "Hey guys, did you know that Hilmar at CCP is like into Web3?" And like I had this early conversation with him a while, like maybe even 2 years ago, when I was reaching out to him and I found out he was building this game. They are going to dominate. That I think we called it back then, and it's going to be true going forward. There is no company on earth that understands better how to integrate a token directly into a game economy than this company. And when you talk to Hilmar, he'll tell you, like, look, it's not that I think this is the most valuable thing in the world. In fact, I think people who want to play that kind of game, it's kind of niche, actually. But it's successful at what it is. Eve has been there for 20 years, just silently, quietly making tons of money off a real economy game and all these incredible stories that come out of that, like that one, like the Dead Body story. I love it. And if you guys just go look it up, there's so many great stories on the internet about the things that have happened in Eve.
There's like a book.
I know. I'm forgetting, or I would have claimed it. But anyway, if you guys just go look, there's just these incredible stories of things that have happened in the politics and the economy of EVE Online. And when you talk to Hilmar, he's like, I wouldn't, he'll say, like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. It's so incredibly hard to build a company and a team that builds games like this. Like, it's not, in some ways, it's not fun. It's its own unique thing. And it's also not mass market. But for the folks who love that idea of a real economy fused into a game, which is basically every Web3 game that's tried to do that up till now, like, in my opinion, nobody even holds a candle to what these guys are going to be able to do.
It's Empires of Eve, and I haven't read it.
Yes,
but I think somebody plugged it on this show once, and I listened to a podcast about it, and it's like $25, and it's all about the wars that have gone on for like years at a time within Eve. So it's kind of like the if you want to get a sense of like what I think people probably thought of.
This is the thing. Like, any Web3 game, literally any Web3 game developer who has decided they are going to put a token into their game, go read this book and just know that there's your end game. Like, that's it. That's where you're heading towards. Do you want that? Is that the kind of game you're trying to build? Is that what's interesting to you? Is that the audience? Is that the type of player base you want with the type of behaviors you want? Because that's what it will turn into. I think it's fascinating, but it's not for everyone. You're not going to get a game like Diablo when you do this. You're going to get a game like EVE Online. So just go make sure that's what you want to be building.
These are the guys that are the exception that prove the rule to what I was saying earlier too, though, which is these are the guys that can pull it off. I mean,
that's why
they had economists working on their game for years.
Exactly.
Like actual economists.
That's why every time this topic has come up, I've been like, please just don't think you can go do the thing that has taken this company 20 years how to figure out just because you think it's a neat idea. Like, go look, go read, go study your history about the companies, because it's not just them. There have been plenty of games and have tried to create real world economies in their games. And it's one of the harder things to do. And I think the fallacy is that people think, but if you crack that code, it's going to be the biggest thing ever. Actually, that's not true either. Like I said, it's a niche. It's a type of gamer that wants to play that kind of game, and it is popular and it can make money and it's great. Yeah, exactly. But it's not for everyone. And so when people show up and they're like, I'm just going to do Fortnite, the popularity of Fortnite, but mixed with the real money economy of EVE, I'm like, okay, sure. Let's.
Yeah, Koji. Nice job, Paul. Way to take those shots at Koji direct.
We're all here for that.
Let's go over to Spangler. St. John has the hand back up too, and then we're going to double back to Paul to finish this topic up. But it's been a great one so far. Spang, over to you, bud.
Yeah, I was originally going to say Fortnite, but then I realized Fortnite doesn't need to, and they would never want to, because they can just keep all the value for themselves. A game that needs this is Halo, because they have the UGC system. They have the creator economy and players who like playing UGC. But while everybody was talking, I also had a thought. Every game, like, why are we all here, right? We're all here because of, like, the original gaming bubble, NFTs, Axie Infinity, the idea that in-game assets can have value and can be traded among players. How do we get to that as quickly as possible? USDC. Every game could implement USDC as an easy way to transfer value, to purchase NFTs that are going to have value. If you look at Halo, Fortnite, the quicker we get people to purchasing NFTs and using those in game and all the capabilities that they unlock without having to worry about a stable economy and all of this complicated shit, we get them engaging with the blockchain by implementing USDC, and it's a skip and a hop, and you don't have to become EVE Online. So I think any game could do that, and I think games are going to start doing that once we hit that holy day of mass adoption in the future.
The holy day of mass adoption. I'll keep my fingers crossed. St. John, over to you, bud.
Yeah, so just to expand on what Paul was saying and all that aspect of it is like, okay, so fundamentally, like what a lot of games are doing is that they're taking a central planning communist approach to the economy, right? So they're trying to kind of anticipate and plan. And the reason for that is pretty obvious, is because, like you want to kind of hit a particular market, you want to kind of direct entry into it. But if you really look at what capitalism really makes it tick, especially like in this case with floating token, is the fact that the players themselves have the ability to expand the economy itself. And so like on the kind of like EVE Online side, right, with that example that Naki given as well, so the UGC really, and just to plug my own terms, because, Kevin does it all the time, we said like user generated, content, we would say like user generated economic engines, right? So where players can actually create their own businesses. And at the heart of that is that if you do that, there needs to be like a robustness to the levels of, economic activity that can actually happen. So I think like most game developers in this space who are not looking to make a full on like EVE Online approach would do something where, Paul's uses terminology as well, where you have a core game and then you have a meta game. And where the core game acts as the Federal Reserve and the meta game acts as different levels of economy where players can really compete or create their own kind of businesses in some respects. Because ultimately, if you look at why capitalism works is because you have all these different actors with all these different like incentives, right? But they have a way to create a mini kind of economic engine or business that creates transactions, which in its totality may not be aligned, but in the same way, in the totality, it is aligned to kind of create transactions and move an economy or grow an economy. So yeah, I mean, like how difficult is this? Yeah, I am a trained like developmental economist, right? And I'm telling you guys, like, it is so fucking difficult. And then you have the commercial considerations that like, if you went for a game like, EVE Online and provided that framework right off the bat, it becomes like this spreadsheet warrior kind of battle where the complexity is there and it's not really mainstream. So the real question is in Web3, like, how do you kind of have something that's kind of in between? And I think that's a new model. I think for what EVE Online does, it really works because they had certain pain points. Same like MapleStory, right? They know the pain points for their particular game, genre, and title, and so they're addressing it with the tokens, or they're adapting it, or they're like freeing it or upgrading it, right? But for the rest of the different game genres, right? I mean, it is really undiscovered country at this point.
It truly is. Jerry with the hand up. Jerry, will go to you, and then Wild Paul's going to finish this up.
Yeah, let's go quickly because we're at the top of the hour. But I think one thing that I'm surprised nobody brought up was like racing games, because I think car culture is like in its by nature is kind of a pay to win thing. Side note here, but I think everybody knows I'm an F1 fanatic, and there's people literally driving in the pinnacle of motorsport. This guy named Lance Stroll does not deserve to be in Formula One, but his dad owns a team, right? Like car culture has always been pay to win, and I think blockchain is so PvP that it's going to become pay to win in a lot of ways. And I think you can look at like the stories of Eve or RuneScape as kind of examples of that. So I would just take like iRacing or something like that, where it's a very modifiable, customizable game. And I think that would actually be super embraced by like the car community, because a lot of I see a lot of parallels between people who are super into cars and people who are super into Web3.
Can we just take a minute to acknowledge that even though we're talking about all these great ideas about what Web2 game to put tokens into, we already have the best Web2 PvP game in the world, and it already has a token, and it's just all of the tokens on CoinMarketCap, and we're all playing it PvP today.
That's a very Paul answer of you.
Indeed. And it's true. That is the game we're playing when we're in Web3, and the game's mechanics are clicking buttons on places like CoinMarketCap, and the game's interface and graphics are charts. So
Never
that's
forget
fine.
when Paul told me that the game is loading up your Steam with games that you're not going to play.
Do you guys remember? Yeah, do you guys remember this? There was actually somebody who hooked a controller up to trading on I didn't forget which website it was, and they had a game controller that you could press buttons to do that. And I was like, cool. Now make the chart like 60 frames per second and add some particle effects to it, and you're getting somewhere. So yeah, that's a completely different take. First of all, Sam, thank you so much for this. The folks on this panel, and it's always been true for Gamified, are the most brilliant folks doing work in this industry right now. And the ability for me to be able to ask a question like that and hear insanely genius answers for 15 minutes, like, is so incredibly valuable. I hope the other panelists also get as much out of it as I do. I hear a lot of the things that were shared rhyming with exactly the things that I care and believe about. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time wrapping up, because I think those answers all speak for themselves. I just wanted to add a few notes, which is, I think that, like, where are you at? First of all, I think Jerry took us home. I think that the car analogy is brilliant. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I just think that the game, if we're talking about creating ancillary games, like if we're creating something like Eve where the token is fully fused into the game, that's a whole different thing. And we talked about that already. But we actually, this question wasn't really about that. It was about taking and adding a token to an existing game, which sort of implies that there's something that people are doing for fun there already. And we're talking about, okay, how do we add a token to that? Which I think is a lot of what Web3 games should be about, because, like I said, creating the EVE Online thing is its own incredibly difficult thing, and it's kind of niche. And I think in a lot of cases, what we're all looking at is this holy grail of, like, can we actually build a game that's played by millions of players, that is as popular as, maybe not Fortnite, but pick your favorite, League of Legends, whatever. And also that game can have a token. And where that sends most of us, which I think is great, because this would not necessarily have been true if I'd asked this question a couple of years ago. But these days, I think we all sort of understand, like, the token metagame is probably a different cohort of users than the people who are just the millions of people who are just playing the game for fun. And that leads to a different set of questions, which is, okay, well, how do you bring those cohorts together, and how do you create an ecosystem where they're having fun and they're benefiting each other? But most of the ideas that were shared here are I think, where that starts to go. I love the car analogy thing, because, like, as in a lot of ways where I've used this, like, Mark Cuban example, where Mark Cuban is, like, playing, I mean, he's not anymore, but used to be playing the game of, like, buying and selling teams, but also loves the actual sport itself and will show up at games as a fan, but is also playing this meta game of capitalism of that. Like, that, I think, is, in my mind, that's sort of the way that feels when you try to embrace that, and you think about that as both a fan, a viewer, a team owner, that kind of stuff. And horse racing is an example of this, car racing is an example of this. Those are examples of capital coming into contact with a game that is being played for fun, but the money is not on the field necessarily. Like, the competitive game is kept pure, but the money is allowed to interact with it in a way that is actually making that better for everyone. And I think there's tons of examples of that in the real world that work just fine. They're great. And I want to see that. So my example would have been Helldivers, just as another example of a game where there's this incredible competitive game being played in real time when you play Helldivers, but there's also this game of politics and intrigue and faction battles and everything else being played. It doesn't have a token, but you can imagine the asymmetric gameplay that could exist if there was a game of politics and intrigue, an EVE Online style game being played adjacent to the competitive game of Helldivers, without actually having to put that token directly into the game like it is in the case of EVE Online. So I think that's where, but here's another, I said I wouldn't go on for a while, but I have a couple notes. First of all, I think the godfather of all these ideas is Brooks Brown. And if you haven't paid attention to the things that Brooks Brown has said over the years about this, about building meta games that are adjacent to games, just go watch his YouTubes, go watch his interviews. You guys know he had a Web3 game called Nor. It didn't work out, but his ideas are evergreen. We are going to see them come back to life. We're going to see them be the things that are successful in the future. And if you want to go look at where I think one of the brilliant minds in our industry was speaking about this, just go watch his video games. Go watch his streams, go watch his videos, his interviews. I think we, as an industry, and this is probably hopefully a good segue into the next topic, are waking up to this fact. We're looking at things like Gun, and we're realizing that, like, actually this the only way this works is if you actually do have a game that's doing real numbers and real revenue, and then you attach a token economy to that. You cannot do it the way around. That people thought maybe that was true over the last several years, and I think everybody's waking up to like, yeah, this is cool, but actually, like, really, this token only deserves to be worth billions of dollars if it's a game that's doing numbers like League of Legends or Fortnite or Helldivers. Like, so maybe we should be waiting for that. And that is healthy. That is good. That is true. But here's the other thing to realize. Even that so Brooks Brown's whole thing was, let's find the thing that comes after free to play. That's actually why a lot of us are here in Web3 gaming. We don't talk about this often enough. Brooks would talk about it all the time. Free to play is a certain way to make money on video games that is, you could say, an evolution of pay to play and box games, everything that came before it. A lot of us are looking for the thing that comes next that allows us to make money with games in an even better, healthier, more sustainable way than free to play, because free to play had some pretty negative impacts on game design. And we're looking for something that actually might make games better. But the key to that is, if you're gonna find a new way to extract money from games, you better fucking find a way to add more fun to games to do that. You can't just additionally extract money from the thing that people were already having fun with and already paying for, which is just playing the game. You have to invent some new thing. My hypothesis on this is exactly what we were just saying. Create a new vector for a new cohort of users who wants to come in and play a metagame, make that metagame fun, then monetize that. But if you guys think that we're all just going to get money out of thin air by just extracting even more money from the games that were already being played, that is not what's going to happen. It is on our shoulders to create new fun ways for people to engage with the games they already love and then monetize that. And that monetization has to be people spending money in exchange for entertainment, in exchange for value, not in exchange for more money, because then you're back where you started, which is great. Well, where's that money coming from? We're either pulling it from players and telling them to pay more for something that isn't valuable to them. Like, no, you can't do that. We have to invent that metagame that's fun and valuable on its own. That's what's coming, though. Like, when you look at these ideas that are about creating a fun metagame, there are people that will pay and lose money to engage in a really fun political, really fun fantasy sports, really fun, I want to own sports teams because that's fun for me. Like, all those things are worth money to people. That's what creates a viable economy that all this stuff can be built on. So it's coming. It will replace free to play eventually. I am firmly believe that. I think it mostly has to do with monetizing the highest affinity players in existing game ecosystems. Last thing I'm going to talk about here, and then I'm going to shut up. When you look at a game like Helldivers or League of Legends or any of these games that we love, you automatically know and assume that there's a cohort of users who is so obsessed with that game that they want to engage with that IP in times even when they're not playing. They spend their time watching streams. They spend their time talking about the game, starting Discord servers about the game, etc. The opportunity to find this new money that will power a token that is actually sustainable is in those users. If we find out as an industry how to make it possible for those users to spend the money they want to spend on their favorite games, which is, as Tony was saying, thousands of dollars, and they don't want to spend it on the field. They don't want to spend it in the game map. They want to spend it on streams. They want to spend it in fantasy sports games, in metagames. That's fine. When we figure that out, we will finally have that holy grail, which is an economy built on top of a fun game that has this new layer that is making money for the game developers, for the publishers, for the fans, for the streamers, for the communities, and finally that will actually sustain tokens worth what we hope they can be worth. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thanks, Paul. Sinjin with a hand up. Sinjin, gotta go quick though.
Sorry, the last thing. Katie would kill me if I didn't say this. This is literally why we're building Thousands, by the way, because for us to deliver that, we actually have to have a platform that brings these 3 C's you heard: community, content, and commerce together in one place. I wish I could do that on Discord. I wish I could do that on Twitch. I wish there was some platform that let me, like I was talking about, monetize streamers and monetize their fans and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to do that just inside of one game. I want a platform for that, just like Valve wanted a platform to sell games, and it's why they invented Steam. That's the only reason we're building Thousands. I don't know if other people will want it, but that's why we need it. Okay, thank you.
Famous last words. I'm not going to talk too long. Sinjin, over to you, bud, real quick.
Yeah, just really quickly, and just to expand on what Paul was saying. I mean, but there's one thing though too is if you keep it at the level of like expanding the scope, right? Like, are you really kind of addressing the issue. I'm just saying this directly to Paul. I would rather say that, like, you know, if you can, and this is really part of like the decentralized, you know, network kind of understanding, if you could empower the users themselves, like where they're creating content as well, and then create new business models within the game itself, right? Rather than just playing on a different like economic level, right? But actually they're creating new avenues, right? And so there's this diffused ownership and alignment on that sense, right? That makes that model even more powerful, right? So like EVE Online with
in fact, it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it's the same thing. UGC is just another one of those examples that I forgot to add to that list of things. Like that can be the layer where that new value is being created. But again, I think what I think we're all waking up to is that layer has to be created and actually has to have fun and value inherent to it. It can't just be speculative, because if it's just speculative, where is it getting its money from? Either it's extracting from the game that already exists that people are already paying for, and you're not adding value. We have to add value if we're going to look to create new economies on top of these games. UGC is a great way to do that, and I think UGC is another great way. But like again, the way I look at it is think of it as a layer wrapped around the game, and you can plug different things in that layer. You can plug fantasy sports, you can plug streaming, you can plug UGC, etc. But if you're not building that layer, and that layer doesn't have people just putting money into it for the value they're getting out of it, not just for speculation, you're just going to end up with another Ponzi scheme.
Great topic.
Yeah, okay. I won't go for it. We'll go for it. But yeah, I do agree.
You're killing me, Smalls. Avalanche is the king of gaming. Chains in the official chain of Gamify. Join us for a shivering shootout and try Shatterline Off the Grid. Two of the hottest games on the coolest chain. They're conquering the cold with cutting-edge technology and a community that's as frosty as it is fierce. So bundle up, bring your A-game, and craft your very own L1 to service all your blockchain gaming needs. And giddy up gamers, get ready to gallop with the Game 7 Nation, the glorious gaming galaxy where players pack a punch. They've signed over 150 games and have 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their mega MetaMask partnership. Thanks to Game 7 for being the official infra of Gamified. And this isn't your average space sim, It's the cosmic cocktail of stunning visuals, deep strategy, and player-owned everything. So build your own spaceship armada and explore uncharted worlds with your friends. But Star Atlas isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about building a community, a galactic civilization where players write the rules. Thanks to the official game of Gamified, Star Atlas. All right, guys, real quick. We're going to jump into Gun. I want this to be, probably on the quicker side. I think a lot of people have beaten it to death, but there is, an ever-evolving story as the token does what tokens do. I want your sentiment score on a scale of 1 to 10. Gun is now about 50% down since launch, 48 hours or so ago. I guess it's closer to 55 hours ago now. The main controversy around the token seems to be the fact that people engaging with it at launch are mostly BNB stakers. That was basically who got most of the supply of the token, 66%, and not the gamers, the people that have been supporting them in the West. Take with that what you will. There was also a little bit of drama around them changing the fact that some early investors were supposed to get unlocks at TGE, and they did not get those, and instead were offered a refund if they wanted it. The token is now tradable on U.S. exchange Kraken, but it took about 24 hours for that to happen, and that hasn't seemed to change the current sell pressure on the token. After the first 48 hours, what is my panel's sentiment score on this token on a scale of 1 to 10? And I want to be clear here, this isn't just about, is the token going up or down? It's going up, so it's a 10, or it's going down, so it's a 1. It's meant to be, how do you feel about this token in the zeitgeist of Web3? How do you feel about the fact that they launched and how they launched and stuff like that? Let's extrapolate just from where we think the token is going necessarily. Koji, I want to hear from you first.
Oh boy, putting me in the hot seat. I was like the last one to put my hand up.
I was reading. You guys think I can see like 7 screens at the same time?
Yeah, dude. That's fair though.
Dub, you have a hot mic.
Hear an echo. Okay. My sentiment score is, I'm gonna say a 5. I'm just somewhere in the middle right now, only because a lot of us for a long time talked about like make good game and then everything will be great, and like these guys have made a good game, so like let's not discount that. I think we need to give it some room to breathe. My opinion was early on, everyone was way too early to just be like, this is the best thing to ever happen in Web3 of all time. And then you give someone that hat and it's like impossible to live up to. They're like, fuck from the start, because it's only down from there, right? If they're like, these guys are going to save everything and they don't, it's like, oh, they didn't live up to expectations, not that they didn't exceed it or meet it or whatever. Like, it's just, too hard. But they made a good game, so like let's give them some time to cook with it. And you know, the reason why it's not higher is because like obviously they changed some things with the token last minute, and that sort of had an effect on some people's sentiment. And playing the Web3 game, especially at this point, is just as important as playing the Web2 game. So I think you got to be a little bit careful with that stuff. But like, you know, they're one of the best we have. So if anyone can turn it around, I think it's them.
Yeah, it's a good point that we are always moving the goalposts on people. You're a hype, you're an underdog, and then all of a sudden you're the number one, and you have to keep it up. And if you don't, now you're a disappointment, and it's tough. I mean, I'm sure whenever Avalon comes to market, Project O comes to market, or whatever, they're going to have similarly extraneous expectations that other people don't have to deal with. Let's go to Dub, then we'll tag in St. John.
Yeah, dude, I'm really weird on this one. Just cause I don't know, like I'm not buying the token. I never bought a node. It was more because they're a competitor than anything back then. But like now, I'm kind of glad I'm not holding a node. But I mean, don't forget they also like bought Game Informer. They own the fucking media. They do whatever the hell they want. If they want the token to go to a fucking dollar, they will. So overall, I think they're fine. They're king made. They're gonna keep king making, and all freaking hail the new kings of the AVAX blockchain. And I don't think they're going anywhere. Like they have an actual product that is fun and enjoyable. I hopped on for a game myself, and it's been freaking months just because I wanted that stupid ape mask on April Fool's Day, and like that was really well done. And they surprised me. So they're winning me over. I'm sure they can win others. And like, even if the token goes to zero, they can just make it back up to whatever they want. And then that's a great narrative. So, short term bad, but long term, they're fine.
Sounds a little bit cynical, Dub. What's the sentiment score though, if you had to put a number on it?
6.9, baby.
I didn't expect anything else. St. John, what's your sentiment score on the gun launch? Again, extrapolating a little bit away from price.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 3, because it really reflects on like where we are in terms of the greater idea of what Web3 gaming is. I'm going to channel my inner Jay from Genopets, and it's if you really look at like what they did, I think that Off the Grid has actually made every right decision they could have made, and I think in another time and place, if there was more bullish sentiment about tokens in general or gaming in general, this would have been such a fucking winner, right? Imagine this had done it like 2 years ago or even a year ago. But what it really shows is like, and this entire argument, well, like they don't play the game, and whatever, real holders didn't really have it, is kind of bullshit, because ultimately, who is really going to drive the traffic on your token is going to be these Binance users. And they didn't give a fuck about this token, right? It's not like they don't get reports. It's not like they can't look into it. If they feel like a game token comes out, just because it's a game token doesn't mean that, and they don't play the game, they're not going to trade it. They would trade it if they felt that they were getting like other alpha or getting other feedback from other traders and saying, this is going to be the next big thing, whether it's gaming or DeFi or whatever, or a meme. And that didn't happen. And so ultimately, like, we've been conflating this idea that, gamers who play the game in Web3, that, they're enough to kind of drive traffic. Obviously, that's not true. But even if a gamer is like a fantastic game in Web 2, like what is their buying power? Their buying power is revenue, not as traders, right? So you could never really depend, even if your game is making revenues, that those same players are actually going to translate over to, being like buyers of your, token. I guess the analogy would be like, you could buy a Tesla, right? Does not necessarily mean you're going to buy the equity in Tesla, right? Maybe you just wanted that for like whatever green reasons, and you fucking hate Elon Musk now, but you still have your Tesla because you love it, and you're shorting the stock. So I think that really rips off the Band-Aid or the idea of what is the real reality here. So like the sentiment score, I would say 3.5.
Appreciate you being willing to attach a number there. Sorry, guys, not sure where the hands were. Let's go to Knock, I think might have been, and then Spang and Kevin.
Yeah, I'll give a 5. And to be fair, I kind of gave the guys at Umio shit when their token launched, so I'll have to sort of reciprocate here a little bit. I don't think that there's any world where the sentiment on this launch is any better than it is, regardless of what year it launches in, because of what happened 24 hours prior to the actual TGE. When you have people who have invested in private rounds for that token, and you switch out vesting schedule on them and say, hey, here's the opportunity for a refund, people are always going to be pissed off. 6% of the supply is circulating. More than half of that, almost 70% of the total supply went to Binance stakers, which Sinjin brings up a bunch of really good points about why that's important or why it would be important. But the fact of the matter is the types of people who would be giving this positive press were completely shut out at TGE, right? So I don't think that there's any world where this has better press than it does today, regardless of overall market sentiment or where we are in the cycle. I think this is a team that has executed well, probably the best of anybody in the space. From the game, they've built an incredible game that people in Web 2 love and have a ton of fun playing. It's an awesome game. Somebody who spent a lot of time in BRs through esports, it is as good as just about any other BR there is in the game. It is an excellent, excellent game that cannot be overstressed. But like I've been saying for years, when you're talking about Web 3, just building a good game is table stakes. Now, they've got a great game. They've got top tier marketing. I think I've been on the record about saying this dozens of times. I think nobody in the space does it any better than these guys do when it comes to capturing attention. But I think it's hard to look at this TGE and say that it wasn't a little bit of a miss from the side of Web3. Now, is there reasons for why, maybe terms were sort of switched on people who invested? Absolutely. We know the game, we know the alleged games that go on with centralized exchanges, and this isn't something that is unique to Gun. I think that they have all of the right ingredients to fix this and to change sentiment on this token moving forward. I think price action that you see today is not going to be the price action that you see in 3 months' time. I think that they're going to continue to bring in players to that game. Once people have access to mainnet, I think people will be really excited. But I think it's hard to look at this as anything other than a little bit of a hiccup in what has prior to this been probably the best record in Web3. I think moving forward, they're still one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the entire space. In my opinion, they've got the best game in its current state that exists in Web3. But this is hard to say it's anything other than a miss. I think it's a perfect middle of the road. Everything that you've done leading into this, 10 out of 10. This was maybe closer to that 2 mark. So we'll give them an average out and call it a 5 sentiment.
Painful but fair take from Knock. Kevin, or sorry, I said I was going to go to Spang next. Spang and then Kevin. Looks like Spang might be having some trouble with the mic. Let's go to Kevin.
We take those defaults, no problem. I think the sentiment score for me is probably, I had a hard time with this. I'm going to give them a 5. The game is amazing. They're set up for success. We're all rooting for them. We want them to win. We want them to succeed. But I think Grail had a really lucid post about this, and he said something like the high FDV, low float launch playbook is kind of getting less and less respected every day. And I think I align with that. It's true. There's a world where I am a person who believes strongly in under promising and over delivering. And you probably see that when I talk about our game. And I'm not sandbagging. Like some people have said, dude, we've seen your pre-alpha. It looks way better than a pre-alpha. But to me, it's totally a pre-alpha, and I can totally defend why that is. Yes, we wanted to polish it because, my approach is do fewer things more highly polished. And it also leads to under promising and over delivering, on what you say you can do. And that just, the first impression is everything. And I think the Web 2 first impression of Off the Grid was excellent. And the Web 3 first impression is maybe not as great because, they could have left more room to over deliver, but instead they came out with a really high FDV and the low float. And you're like, man, where is it going to go from here? Down, sure, but the scenario where it just moons from here is really, really hard to figure out the catalyst and narrate that, right? So I don't know. I feel like, and I align with some of what Knock said as well. It's really hard to come to market like this. I feel like maybe they have a lot of reasons for why they came to market this way, and some of those are defensible. But I look at it from a read the room, read the market perspective, and you have to be able to pivot fast in Web3, but you can also set yourself up with way more room to grow. And they took a little bit of a risk in making the FTV and the float, how they did it. So, but their game is so good, and I could see this getting real revenue, which are the bones for any kind of token or ecosystem succeeding long term. And when you have that kind of success, you can fix the problem, right? You can inject more utility in, you can have new experiences that drive more syncs to the token, and you can kind of re-inject life into the economy if it's flailing, or if it's underperforming. So I'll give it a 5 overall, but I'm still hopeful because we want them to succeed.
Man, all these hands, and I know you savages just want to get to the Nintendo topic. I'm going to try my best, but Kevin, that was a great take. Appreciate it. Let's go over to Spang. Mike, is your mic working now, brother? Damn, still down bad. Try leaving the space. We'll get you back up, and we'll go to Knock and Jerry in the meantime. Knock, over to you, brother.
Yeah, one thing that I want to add, I think it's really important to understand that, like, this is, at least in my opinion, probably very unlikely to hurt this team long term. Like, yeah, sentiment might be a little bit down right now in the way they went to market with ERC20. But everything else that they have is top class. So I think the hope with something like this is through gameplay, through mainnet going live, through some of the other really interesting systems that they have in place with things like the nodes and decrypting hexes and the item economy that they will have live once mainnet is live, and some of the activity we've already seen there. They're still doing a lot of things right from like a Web3 POV, right? This is just a small hiccup that should be discussed and should be criticized. But I think it's important to understand as well, this is a team who started this process years ago in what was a very different market. And anytime a team goes to market with a token, I think retail and by and large, I'll assume that everybody here, I'll just kind of lump everybody here into the quote unquote retail, being not a builder, doesn't understand what actually goes on behind the scenes with a token launch and some of the external forces that can sort of weigh on a decision. And when you start that process as far back as OTG did, it very well may have been the case that this wasn't much of an option, right? And this is the way that they had to go to market. And it's unfortunate and people are upset about it. But I think if you're looking at it holistically, it shouldn't change the way that you feel about the prospect of that game. And ultimately, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of an uphill battle to rebuild sentiment around the token, but they're still trading at $600 million FTV. Volume is pretty heavy on that token. There's going to be a bunch of unlocks for people. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next little while, but this is by no means people weren't happy with the token, that's it for the game.
Great take there. Let's go over to Jerry, and then Kevin Lambert has the hand up, and so does Paul.
Yeah, I think this has got to be a 5, right? Because yeah, I mean they've done a million things right, and they did one thing wrong. But the one thing that they've done wrong to this point has been kind of their main product that we've all been interested in. But like, I think the way I've been viewing this is like, and I want to maybe tap in. I don't want to unfairly put somebody on the spot. So Knock, say no if you don't feel comfortable answering the question. But you are the ultimate capitalist here. What would you price like Fortnite or Call of Duty at from like a market cap? What would you give it?
It's such a hard thing to answer, right? If you're talking, if they lean into Web3 speculation, like there's no world where Fortnite doesn't open up at like 10 plus bill, given what we've seen current tokens at. Is it worth $10 billion? Absolutely not. But you know that token price will definitely be above that.
Yeah, which makes my point is, why would the OTG token, or why would Guns be $1 billion token?
This is
why was
exactly
anybody expecting that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's priced fairly at like 100 to 200 million, even with speculation in mind, because it is all the things everybody said. It's a great game, and it's looking like it's on track to be a great thing. But is it $1 billion token? Is it worth $1 billion if a Call of Duty or a Fortnite is worth 10? And I just don't think that they are there. So I'll leave my thoughts with that. Let's see what they can do. I think right now what they're showing is that they can sort of operate a live service game. They've had a couple seasons. They're doing things in a timely fashion, and let's see. But I think this has to be a 5 if you have any sort of like objectivity or fairness to you.
Just to push back really quickly, the thing is, you're not comparing OTG to a Call of Duty or Fortnite, right? You're comparing OTG to sand, which is trading at $400 million more FDV above it, right? And that should be the comparison. So I don't think expecting a token like OTG to open up between 1 and 2 bill is unreasonable. It might be unreasonable if we're adding in circumstances that don't exist in the space. But if you're looking at what is available in the space, it's perfectly reasonable for it to have opened where it did.
Man, great discussion there, guys. Kevin Lambert, I want to go back to you because you have the hand up, and let's check in with Spang after that.
I just wanted to add one thing. If we break up their TGE into all of its component parts and features, we would probably give them individual sentiment scores. And I wanted to call out one positive one that I forgot to mention, the 30% buyback feature that they threw out there. I think that is awesome. I think that's just, it's a great way to build narrative, a little, safe landing perspective from the people of what if things don't go well, having that safety net there. But also it's a commitment to the team to continue investing into that. And I think that's just great. Like, that's just such a great feature all around. So that piece gets a high sentiment score for me.
Interesting. We had Jonah on Simplified really ripping into that. I would love to have a debate about that sometime. But let's go over to Will Spangler. We'll tag in Wild Paul.
Are we on? Please, for the love of God.
Yes, sir. We're so back.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Obvious disclaimer, Jerry, no objectivity about this for me, but I'm going to be giving this a 9. This has been a huge expose of what's possible on an Avalanche L1. And I think that's a really exciting thing. You can go live using AVAX, go live on these exchanges, integrate with these markets. And as people have been saying, I think it's, this is step 1. There's a plan here. If we know anything about Gunzilla, they have plots and schemes and machinations beyond our wildest imaginings. And this is step 1. And I think that to create an economy at this scale, it takes multiple steps and it takes multiple iterations of how you roll these things out, how you engage in the community. This is barely a fetus in terms of in-game economies as we've been trying to think about them. So, to tie back into that question that we had earlier, what would you value, Fortnite or call Fortnite at? We have to be thinking about this of okay, Fortnite dropped July of 2017. What would you value this? What would you value Fortnite at in June of 2016? We're super early stages. The items aren't even tradable. And I think that given that, the fact that we were able to hit a 1 billion FDV and a floating in the kind of high hundreds of billions, I think that's huge. I think I think it's the first step in the process, and it's really exciting to see what this is going to become. And I'm going to be keeping my eyes glued to the next steps to see how the dominoes that they've set up and all of the different exchanges, because everyone's been talking about the Binance launch, but they're also live on Kraken now. They're live on Avalanche C Chain. They're slowly opening up the net and allowing people to come in and engage with the ecosystem. And the big flood, I think, is going to be the players. Once those items are tradable, people are already trading them on testnet for thousands of dollars. What's that going to do to the token? And it's a sustainable economy. People are talking about moons. Obviously, we all want that. But what we really want is an enjoyable economy experience where players are going to be engaging, buying NFTs, trading NFTs amongst each other. And we haven't really seen what that can look like at scale yet. We're still waiting for the fish to crawl out of the primordial soup. And, I think Gunzilla is a great looking fish, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah.
Great take from Spang. Glad we got you back in time for that. We have 2 more hands up, and then we're going to move on to the last topic real quick, but we're running out of show here. Wild Paul, then Sinjin.
Man, I wish Sinjin, can you go first? No, I'll go first. But I am really afraid of what's about to come out of my mouth. Okay, look, I'm balancing between 2 things. Folks on the team, on the OTG team, are friends, and they have made a great game. And so they're going to be just fine because they have a good game, and they're on their way to that game finding product market fit and making money and doing the things that a game is supposed to do. So, okay, but you all are also my friends, and I can't not say the things that I think are true that I think people need to hear in this situation. The sentiment is like a 1, okay, for me. And that's because the way I perceive the word sentiment is how we all are feeling about a thing. And so either we're all lying here, which that happens. Like it happens when we're like talking about a thing we wish is true, but then when we turn off Gamified, we actually go pull up our portfolio and make trades, and that's where the actual truth shows up. And the actual truth is a game like this with all these features, with a fucking Binance listing and everything lined up correctly, a year ago, we would have all been saying 5 billion. It barely got to $1 billion, and it's down 50% since launch. I don't know how any of us are not looking at that and going, okay, we have our answer. And the answer is this truth? Okay, this is what Jerry was saying, I think. If that team tomorrow were to go try to sell the game they actually have, not the one that us Web3 speculators wish it could be and wish it could trade on or whatever. No, the actual game, the actual product, the actual project, the team, whatever, they would have trouble getting a valuation above $50 million for a game that has no numbers yet, no revenue yet, and that is not a negative on the team. They are where they're at. And in fact, if you're Tencent, the reason you're valuing that at 50 million and not 5 is because it's a real team with pedigreed creators. They have real gameplay. It's fun. It's whatever. But in the world of actual valuations for games, 50 million is a pretty fucking huge number for a game that isn't doing any actual numbers yet, that is actually still looking forward and saying, we hope this game is popular. We hope this game is something people love. We don't have any actual numbers to show about that. That's not a negative on the team. That's just a literal reality of their journey, of where they're at, right? Okay, so now let's talk about what's actually happening here. We as Web3 speculators and degens all wish that the possible future outcome that this game does end up being a hit in Web 2, does end up posting real numbers, does end up being a game that, for instance, Tencent might actually want to acquire at $500 million. It turns out most of that speculative energy is gone. That's what the reality of what the last few days has shown us, that a game that has lined up all these possible future outcomes, including checking every box on the Web3 side, Binance, low float, all the things that try to help sustain speculative value, even those things couldn't get the value to be what it would have been just a year ago. To me, like, come on, let's read the room, guys. Let's look at that and let's actually celebrate the death of speculation in that way, because that lets us get to the next point, which is healthier for even the speculators, which is I would love to be trading a game at a $500 billion or $500 million FDV that actually was worth $500 million to a Tencent, because the reality of it is that situation I'm talking about where Tencent comes and buys it, they get 100% of it. How much do you think you're actually owning when you buy a gun token of that IP in that game? It definitely ain't the 100% that Tencent would be getting if they bought it outright, every part of it, for $500 million. So, like, I love that people are waking up to this. I love that speculation on bullshit outcomes that haven't been proven yet is dying. OTG, though, just like Wildcard, just like, lots of it's one of the few games in this space that has that potential. But I'm glad that we're all not trying to drive that potential up. In fact, that speculation is drying up. I think that's good. That's healthy. Let's turn the chapter. Let's let this die at a 1 and move on to the next part, which is cheering for them to become a huge successful Web 2 game, and then having a token worth something based on that. Whew, I'm on one today. Sorry, guys. Thank you.
I appreciate the radical candor there, Paul. Let's go over to St. John, and I see Knock also hitting the thumbs down, which I'm curious to dig into. But I also, if you guys want to, let's stay focused here. St. John, over to you.
Yeah, no, like I applaud what Paul said. The reason why I had a 3.5 was, somewhat towards that, but I'll also say why 3.5 is that if a bull market does come back, right, something like OTG is well positioned to rip because it's on Binance and all this other stuff. And will this ever be dead? Are we going to move forward with it? I don't think we ever really do move forward for it. And, Paul, you had said before about, like the builders or the space is kind of waking up to, what kind of really matters. But I'll say that it's completely irrelevant. Builders like yourself or myself or Kevin or, EVE Online or MapleStory. And by design, when we first got into this space, we had a long-term vision to understand and to really realize what, the final outcomes should be for like a revenue generating forever game. And that's what gets to the kind of crux of it here, is that like the sentiment score for me at a 3.5 also reflects this, right? Like I've seen this before in crypto. I've been in the space since like 2017, which kind of makes me, I guess, a second gen mainstream kind of entrance. But like when you launch your token at a TGE and, you have your early buyers who just buy because they think it's cool, okay, and they get wrecked, okay, they will never engage, because no matter how many gains that come in at the lower end where, the market starts to rip again and it goes up like 30-40%, they're still fucking down 80%, right? And so that losing that aspect of it, it just totally puts a bad taste in everyone's minds who were like the true.
And that is why.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm saying that this is so healthy, because we all want the other thing. We all want the token that launches at 50 and everybody gets into it and goes to 500. Like, this is not that again. So how do we assign a sentiment above something really terrible when it's that whole pattern again? Like, that's to me why I don't understand why everybody's being. Yeah. That's why I don't understand why everybody's being so positive about that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I do agree. I mean, that's why my sentiment score is 3.5. But again, like, do I think that entire speculation will ever go away? And that's like, no, right? And in terms of like how well positioned they are, they will capture that upside. It's just that they're truly early believers who were like day traders or whatever like that, who did buy in. They're just fucking wrecked at this point. But I guess the implications of this really, we have to really look at this, is that like, whereas we all felt that TGE was like kind of the end game and then we kind of figure out the rest, right? Now TGE becomes like the kind of beginning point. And if that's really the beginning point, and you need 3 years to kind of get that revenue really going enough to do the buybacks and so on and so forth, right? Unfortunately, if like OTG has this now record against them where they kind of fucked over their core investors, right? Are they going to really be able to raise from them again? Like, is the token going to really appreciate within that 3-year period before they get that track record to do the investment? And the fact of the matter is, in a VR, like a shooter game, right? Can they grow their revenues over the next 3 years? Because ultimately, like any of the stuff on secondary market is about like future growth and confidence. If their revenues don't like continue to grow over the period of the next 3 years, right, they'll never get that sentiment enough to pop that token back up. And so this is more of a wake-up call for everybody else, is that like, yeah, we all thought like, okay, you get to TGE and then you can take a break and let's go to fucking Bahamas for a fucking week and celebrate and drink champagne. And and it's not the case. But again, like the real kind of, not builders, but the guys that kind of like came in with their eyes wide open, right? We kind of always knew that like, the TGE is more of a liability than anything else. And then now a track record has been made. But can you make a track record, right, without further investment? And can you make it so like your game is going to be competitive 3 years from now? Because it doesn't matter whether or not like Off the Grid is the best game right now or marginally better, right? It has to be so much fucking better that they're still growing in 3 years to make that token go. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Everyone else on the
I just figured it out. Yeah. I just figured it out, Sinjin. The thing that I was trying to say and that you just said, the reason that this is a huge relief to me is that if you look at it, this is wiping out and further wiping out the people who could show up, not actually ever deliver a real game or real revenue, and still somehow generate paper value of billions of dollars. That is dying, and that is good for everyone. Like, that's for me, obviously, as a real builder, as someone who obsesses over just real player numbers and real revenue, the outcome that is happening here is great. It's like, cool. I don't have to worry that somehow I'm missing something by focusing on what I thought mattered, because it turns out even the speculators are kind of done with that. So great. Can we move on and focus on the things that actually matter? And I look at that as a healthy thing. It's a great thing.
But I do want to like put one point on that, is like, okay, yourself or Kevin or myself that have a pedigree in whichever gaming field that we're in, right? I mean, like, that's great for us. Like, And maybe that was kind of money on the table that we didn't take, right? But for the majority of games out there, right, like this money was never theirs anyways. I mean, like if you're running a really good game for the long term post TGE and stuff like that, right? Like you never have a narrative that you're creating right now that like in 3 years we're going to be like this fucking monster game, so therefore you should invest. Like I mean, it would never buy into it. But I agree. Like it's nice.
Well, that's also why I think it's healthy, because those people can't take speculators' money in the same way they could a year or two ago.
Yeah,
which I think is good for that.
I totally agree with that. So in terms of like speculation, like I think it's healthy because it does allow us less noise in the space that, I think Kevin and myself and yourself and some other builders have a very specific game plan in launching, right? From what we see from our experience or, eyes kind of wide open. But yeah, like if the sentiment, if the market does return though, I would say, why am I on a 3.5 just to defend that, is that it will.
Stop saying if, Sinjin. Stop saying if. You're hurting people.
Well, the way that Paul's saying, he never wants the sentiment to return and just go on merits. And
no, I want the sentiment to return on the back of a game doing real numbers. Can you guys even imagine what that's going to be like?
Well, that's what I hope and pray
when a
for
game out
every
there
day.
is just posting tens of millions. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and
that's what we hope for,
that,
but
guys.
that's not the majority of the market. But anyways, good luck to the traders.
And by the way, this also is healthy because it takes power and leverage away from those companies that were servicing just speculators and not really doing anything for the real builders. And I'm talking about the exchanges that are extractors of value. This takes power away from them because they can no longer show up and be like, you know what, you don't even have to have something real and we'll still drive this huge value for you. And so like for those companies that we're looking at that and we're probably looking to give away a lot of what they had just because they thought that imaginary value. Well, now that argument doesn't hold as much water. And that's a good thing too.
Knock has got his hand up for.
Oh, I love all the thumbs down from Knock. Let's do it.
Listen, I'll be this guy, but what the fuck are we talking about? Let's look at this. Let's look at this objectively for a second, okay? A rumor of the last price that people got in at this token was 200 mil. So at worst, they opened at a 5x of their total buy. And even with this extended point where they're now down 50%, they're still up 2.5%. We're talking about how the fact that speculators are looking at this sort of thing and saying, hey,
wait, can any of those people actually sell right now? I thought they could.
Here's the next point, Paul. We're talking about how speculators are seeing this and going, okay, this is no longer something that we want to play in, but they're fucking sidelines. So we don't actually know anything about the people who speculated on this TGE and how they wanted to act because the most of the tokens went to Binance stakers who immediately dumped this.
Yep.
Right? The second piece to this is the speculative market is absolutely not fucking dead. DeFi Dungeons opened up a $3 million round in their token and they brought in $130 million worth of commitments for that token price.
Oh, I know.
So,
No. It's not dead. What I meant is like the old way of doing it is dead. I think is a better way to look at it. And what we saw yesterday was kind of the old way, or when this launched, kind of the old way, kind of the classic way of doing it. I think that's what's dying.
I think like ultimately, right, we don't actually know anything about how speculators will see this, right? This is the point, and Jonah just sort of tagged me on a tweet now, but this is the point, right? We know nothing about the speculative audience. We don't know anything about the people who participated in this TGE because so far they've been locked out of actually participating in the market for this token. It's unlikely that any of them bought, sure, but all we know is that people who earned this token for staking a completely unrelated token decided to dump it, which is not new to us. That is exactly how everybody who receives an airdrop in the history of crypto has ever treated that airdrop, right? Hey, I got an airdrop, fucking straight to the Jeet factory, it's out the door. Like, I don't care anymore, right? So that's all we know. All we know is that users who have always acted this way are continuing to act this way.
That's not. I'd love if you're willing to go back and forth with me just for real quick. And Sam, thank you for letting us do this. I don't think that's all we know, because I think the other thing we know is that had Binance and OTG felt like they could have opened it up to those users and let the float be higher, they would have done that. They didn't do that. They decided we can't do that. We have to do it this other way. I think that's a pretty important data point that you're leaving out of that argument.
Did they decide that, or like every other token, did they decide that we're going to opt for a situation where insiders are locked up for 12 months post TGE, like every other major token?
Yeah, maybe insiders, but we're not talking about. We're talking about node buyers. We're talking about people that were playing and speculating on the testnet token. Like, I think in a perfect world, they would have loved to allow those people to participate in TG in this market, and they decided they couldn't. And having been part of those kind of conversations, I know that the only reason that you would decide that is because you know if you do that, the whole market's going to get wrecked. It's not because you're just like, well, we have no choice. It's because, oh my gosh, if we do that, it's possibly going to crash. I don't know. We're speculating on what their thinking is, but I'm just saying that that's a data point that I think is you can't ignore the fact that they made those decisions that led to that. It's not just because of insider agreements. I don't think that. I think that there's plenty of other factors
as well. Is that Knock? I do know those buyers. Okay, on Binance. Okay, look, like if you can't like satisfy these guys, right? Then who the fuck are you trying to satisfy in speculation? Because these are the real fucking movers and shakers, right? So like if their sentiment is just dump, right? Even with like what OTG possibly represents, I mean, on that speculative score, right? Yeah, the sentiment is fucking pretty fucking bad at this particular.
Yeah, because those
moment.
guys are like the end of the train, right? Like they don't want to be the ones to do that. They were hoping that a bunch of greater fools would have done all this before them, and the fact that they're the last ones and they're the ones trading, like I don't know. That's
but
what
this
pushes
is the whole
sentiment,
reason.
so.
Yeah, like then like saying that trading at whatever they're trading at, right? It's because it's part of their portfolio, right? They've accepted it, and they know that if there's a speculative, bull market that comes back, or bullish sentiment, that it's going to pump. So like those are the guys, not the gamers who are holding fucking sand, right? It's the traders, right? And if on this TG, they're the ones who are dumping the most and have no faith in it, right? And those are really the end movers of your token and holders that you really do want to have, just general traders, not the gamers, right? This is where we're at.
Man, what a weird, wild episode this was. A lot of really nuanced discussion, a lot of interesting like wrinkles that we explored, and I for one am for it. I love these kinds of conversations. I know some people just want to hear us scream about the news, but I love this shit. So thanks everybody for being willing to do that. Unfortunately, we blew through all of our Nintendo time, and ironically, I was saving it for the end so you guys would have something to look forward to, but we just weren't there. So what I'm going to ask is, we're going to do the MVP vote. Everybody gets like their 15 to 30 second rant about Nintendo at the same time. And then once we know the MVP, whoever gets FaceTime gets to dunk with an extra minute to tell everybody why they're wrong about Nintendo. Jerry, I see the hand up. I'll send it over to you first. Your statement on Nintendo and your MVP. I should say, for people that haven't been here for 2 hours, the Nintendo Switch pricing was released today. People in general tend to be a little bit stressed out about it. $80 for Mario Kart. I think $500 for the Switch plus Mario Kart bundle, just for context. Go
okay,
ahead,
just real quick facts. It's actually $450. You get the game with it. The only games that are $80 are the Switch exclusives. Other games are $70. Just wanted to make sure we correct the record.
Yeah. Listen, I once famously said that we love Nintendo because they do foreplay. All this panel does is blue ball you, because all I wanted to do on this show was talk about Nintendo, and they fucking yapped about tokens. So my MVP is Paul, even though he had a blatant disregard for the hand system, and he has 5 for fighting this time, but he also was really good to be on the panel with. Yeah, dude, listen, I want to say one thing about the Switch too. I fucking love that they are charging more for physicals, because publishers hate like physical secondary trading, right? It's literally what blockchain is for. So if you're somebody who's bitching about the physicals being more expensive, you are making an argument against why publishers and studios should want blockchain in their games. I love it. Charge more for physicals, bitches.
And who's your MVP, bud?
Paul, even though he disregarded the hand system.
All right, Paul, I'm going to you next then. Who's your MVP? And your
I totally did. I'm terrible. Thank you for giving me the patience and the grace for letting me do that. My MVP is Sinjin, and it's not because he joined me in ganging up with Knock, but it's kind of also because of that. But like Sinjin dropped serious truth. That's what I was looking for. But also, you all are my MVPs, because oh my gosh, giving me this venue again. I just have to say thanks to everyone. And then finally on Nintendo. Look, all I'll say is they clearly understand that if they can ship a Steam Deck that's cheaper than a Steam Deck and has the quality of that plus Nintendo exclusives, that's probably a thing that's going to fly off fucking shelves. And people only watch the Nintendo Direct, but all the announcements they made afterwards were the big deal. Cyberpunk is coming to it. They have an exclusive From Software game. Elden Ring is coming to it. This is basically the device that will finally play all of your Steam Deck games, also your Nintendo games, and is lighter and cheaper than a Steam Deck. Like, it's going to fucking destroy everything. So yeah, go buy it. And by the way, thank God to Nintendo for pushing prices higher, because that's what needed to happen. Inflation has not, games have not accounted for inflation very well at all. And they have the balls to go out there and be like, we have great software. We can demand higher prices. They're right. And people will pay it. Well, I mean, I guess the proof will be in the pudding, but I'm grateful for them.
Thank them for what else, Paul? For doing foreplay.
Okay, yes.
Wow, I didn't expect a buy-in there at the end, but we take it. All right.
Sinjin, my MVP.
Sinjin's the MVP for Paul. Sinjin, who's your MVP, brother, and what's your take on this Nintendo?
Nintendo, aishiteru. Fuck, it's Nintendo. How can you not love it? So whatever the fuck they want to do, let them do it. Fucking, it's Nintendo. My MVP is, hey, it was a great fucking panel. Everyone did really well. But Will's, good job on holding the corporate line there, buddy. I'm proud of you. Love AVAX. I don't hold it against AVAX, whatever like that, but I'm glad you're a good corporate shill today. And, I appreciate that. I'm sure your company does. And so I give it to Will's for being so ballsy and just standing out there and being the good corporate shill he is. It reminds me of Ed.
Made in Ed's image. You love to see it. No, Will's is amazing. Love you, buddy. Will's, who's your MVP?
Hey, bro, I want to be able to buy that Nintendo Switch, so I got to keep my job to do that. But yeah, no, I'm going to throw it right back at you, Sinjin. I thought your takes today were top notch. I always love digging into the nitty gritty. And then I'm going to throw a side vote to Paul as well for being the Mark Cuban of today. I felt like we were all on Shark Tank, going up and pitching our ideas to the great and powerful Paul, and that was a fun little experience. But yeah, as the one who started this whole shit show on Nintendo, but I think I want to say that, I think it's great. I think that I'm on the record of saying that I think fluctuating game prices is a good thing because games take more money to make. Do I think it's a good thing that games take more money to make? Variable, for sure. But I think that more flexibility and more open market and more variability in the quality of games and what they decide to include and what they want to charge, I think is good for everyone. That being
we're just
said,
at the sunset phase because it's about to go to zero to make games with AI. So we're just getting out the last little bit that we can here.
Games to $8 is my pitch. But yeah, I think it's great. I'm a huge fan of it. Love Nintendo.
That is an interesting point there, Paul. The irony that we have been at $60 for a premium title for the longest time, right as AI is about to make it so that it's finally cheaper to make games, is
as Katie's favorite phrase, the late stages of capitalism.
It is just a hilarious coincidence there. I'm sending it to Koji. Koji, who's your MVP of the day, bud? And you're taking Nintendo.
My MVP is Sinjin, just because I think he made a lot of really important points on this chat. And my take on Nintendo is exactly Jerry's take. This gaming spaces that we have spent more time talking about tokens than it did about the horrible system that is Nintendo Switch. I have a PC. I can buy upgrades at home. I'm good on the Switch. That shit is so boring. I want some innovation. I can use a mouse and play a wheelchair game. No shot on the wheelchair game. That actually looks pretty fun. But I don't know. I'm unexcited. My old brain needs to get excited again, and it's been a long time since a video game or a console has excited me.
Dub, sending it to you. Who's your MVP, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I got to give it to Koji for glazing me so hard in the intro, and fuck Sinjin and Paul for stealing my thunder and my clear MVP win that was going to happen that everyone forgot about already. And I only hear about Nintendo here. So I'm not looking forward to the Switch or anything like that. I already bought 10 of the Sui Play 2 devices. So I'm going to be playing those anyways and won't have real time.
10?
Well, yeah, I mean, the airdrops.
Okay.
Dub is the true degen in this space. Like, you just got to give respect.
Yes, truly he is. All right, okay. MVP, Kevin Lambert, who you got?
All right, MVP, I'm going to give it to Paul for asking an amazing question that got us all thinking and got the juices flowing. That was awesome. And also for the fact that we learned that he doesn't get up before 8 a.m. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, those people who say, I don't even get out of bed for less than 10K a day. I want to know what Paul's number is for getting him out of bed. You don't have to answer right now, Paul, but what is that number to get you out of bed before 8 a.m.?
$1 million.
There
You'd have
it
to
is.
ask Kate, actually. She probably knows exactly what the number is.
It's high for me, too. I'm totally with you there. And on Nintendo, oh, my God. So I don't think the price is that bad. I think if we actually did the inflation adjusted math on it, we would find we have to do that. So I could be dead wrong here, but I feel like it's either on par or actually, you know, under par for, you know, the price of a dozen eggs. So, you know, how that has, you know, transitioned.
Oh, I mean, if we go back and like look at what we were paying games and inflation adjust from like back in like the King's Quest days, I think they should be like $150 right now.
Yeah.
Games, yeah, and a console would be probably like close to a grand.
Thousands.
Or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah, totally. Although I will say that I had my hopes so high for a Mario Odyssey sequel or a 3D Mario first-person game, and I'm so down bad on that, and I'm trying to find solace in the Donkey Kong game that they announced, you know, filling that void for me. But until they announce, I'm really sad that they're not doing that, and I'll just have to.
I'm with you. I cry into Metroid personally, but yeah, I'm with you.
I'll be doing that too.
I think it's just Tony and Knox still to give us their MVPs. Knock over to you then to Tony.
Yeah, honorable mention, definitely Paul went in today, but Sinjin for his answer on online poker and the reason why that would work. I think that might be like the best soundbite we've had on the show in a very long time. So Sinjin is definitely the MVP. I'm also, what I'm about to say has no joking in it at all. I'm disappointed in Jerry and Paul for eating up what Nintendo served today, because 6 months ago I said they're going to release a console refresh, and everybody since then, particularly Jerry and Paul, have been arguing for innovation, and people don't want the same things. We want new things, we want fun things, and what we got was a console that is slightly bigger, is as expensive or more expensive than the PS5 and Xbox, which are both better consoles. It's almost as much as the Steam Deck, which is an infinitely better console. They removed the OLED screen from the recent Switch, so you've actually got a worse fucking screen, okay? And then all they announced was Mario Kart 9, which really was just Mario Kart 8 2 with an open world edition, and the ability and the privilege to pay Nintendo for the games you already fucking bought with like slightly different features. You want to talk innovation? Sure. They added, you know, magnets on the fucking controllers. They added a little button that says C, which you can't even fucking reach if you're holding the console, so it's completely useless. And I'll give them this, they gave you the opportunity to turn the Switch controller on its side and use it as a really fucking shitty mouse. I cannot believe that anybody's excited about what is a really shitty version of a console refresh and a bunch of titles that already fucking exist, that even if you own, you need to pay more to play it on the Switch too. The only thing that was exciting about this doesn't come out until 2026. It's that From Software game that looks fucking incredible. Definitely excited to play that. And I will say the Donkey Kong game kind of looks cool. Punching fucking mountains and digging for gold seems like a ton of fun. Whether or not that's innovative, I'll leave it up to the panel to describe or to decide. But this is not fucking good. This is a console refresh.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, Paul, I got us. Paul, I got us.
Knock.
It's a real cowardly thing to do to criticize us at the end of an episode. We will fell you next week. You coward.
Okay, but also, I never said that I thought it was good. I just said you fuckers are all going to buy it. Everyone's going to buy it. It's the obvious thing to do. But actually, Knock, I agree with everything you just said. I was sad for Nintendo today. And yeah, I know it's a TikTok cycle thing, and it just makes all the sense or whatever. But yeah, this isn't the console that I love Nintendo for. This is the obvious business play. This is the thing they should have done. But I'm sad because it's not the generation where we're going to get some bold thing from them. And I actually agree with everything you just said. The last thing I want to say on the Sinjin thing, somebody literally take what Sinjin described as the ultimate poker game, feed it to open to ChatGPT and tell it to vibe code a prototype of that game for you and share it on next Gamified. It will work. You'll probably make $1 zillion.
Never in my life, in the history of Gamified, have we been 10 minutes deep into it, like past the episode's endpoint, and people are still arguing with each other, and I can't get a hold of the panel. It's pretty amazing that this subject of all the subjects is the one to do it. Kevin, your vote for MVP. Right now we're tied between Paul and St. John. I think you should be the tiebreaker here.
Oh man, you made me tie break that. Rip. I'll give it to Paul.
Paul, the MVP
love
of the
St. John.
episode.
Love both.
Okay, but then thank you very much. But Sam, I what is the word? I relinquish my time. I yield my time because I interrupted so many fucking times. There's no way I should get any more time. I love you guys. This has been the best show.
Sufficiently yielded. St. John, I know you have a game launch coming up. You got 3 votes, so let's go over to you for 30 seconds of FaceTime too, brother.
Yeah, really quick. I had such a great time at Woolsdown, the Den, just because, we got the land and, the young gamers got to make fun of my slow Twitch abilities. So we're going to do a game night actually today, 8 p.m. EST and then 8 p.m. PST, just to have some fun, just to hang out and with the old crew. I know I've been slagging on Web3 a lot. And I just want to have fun. It's with the old build from November, which was pretty much our last real beta, where we completed the game, and then we got into the real polish now. And then I'll drop some alpha about what we're doing. So the game will launch at the end of April, and then we also have our brand new facility almost ready to go. Our gaming exhibition place. It's 9,000 square feet in Bangkok. I talked about during Alpha Night with Wolves Den how much we have failed. And, last year I had hopes that we had launched that particular year in coinciding with a place that was even more fantastic in Singapore. And I had to give that place up. And that's just kind of the life it is. But let's have some fun today. At the end of the day, why we're here is to have fun. So come out and hang out. Just join our Discord. You don't need an account. We'll give you a demo account to play with. And let's just hang out and have fun, just like we did at Wolves Den.
Hell yeah, brother. The land nights, I've been asking a bunch of people, what's the memory that still sticks with you from Wolves Den? And so many people have been playing Dota, hanging out with St. John, D&D with Rex. A bunch of people did one-shot campaigns. It's amazing how that really is the thing of all the things that we did. It's just gaming with your friends that people want to do more than anything else. And I love you guys for always making that possible. You're all amazing and special to me and important. With that being said, we are definitely going to be jumping into that game night for Meiji. Big shout out. Good luck on the launch over there in Thailand. And Avalanche is the official chain of Gamified. It's more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation with $100 million AI-funded partnerships with gaming giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, Solo Leveling. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of Web3 gaming. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newbie, come explore the avalanche of possibilities and discover a world where snow never melts and the fun never stops. And I'm calling all the Cosmic Crusaders and spacefaring scoundrels, because Star Atlas is about to ignite the gaming galaxy with the pulse-pounding space races where velocity and valor are your keys to victory. Master the maneuvers of magnificent spaceships, mine marvelous minerals, and build an empire that spans the stars. Thank you for being the official game of Gamified. And get ready to rumble with gaming gatekeepers who are flipping the script and giving the power back to the players. They're the ones that are turning the metaverse into a melting pot of ideas, a crucible of creativity, and a breeding ground for innovation. They're the ones that are empowering your players to take control of their digital destinies. So grab your gamepads and get ready to conquer the next era of gaming with Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. Guys, it's been a weird, wacky, wild episode of Gamified. I appreciate all of you for still showing up and giving us this level of effort. 111 episodes deep. I love you guys more than words can express. I'll see you back here, same time, same place, for another awesome episode of Gamified next week. Love you. Smooches. Bye-bye.